Yeah, all good here, Brian. Yeah, so the sun's shining, so everything's fine.
Makes everything so much better, doesn't it?
Hello, everyone.
Morning,
Morning, everyone.
Chair. Someone echoing the microphone.
Yes.
Now.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome along. I don't think we have any apologies at this stage.
No, I haven't received any apologies.
Lovely, thank you. So we'll move swiftly along. Just going through the minutes from the last meeting. Just if anyone could say if there's anything that's not factually all correct, could they sort of just point out? So we're looking at page 7 of the agenda pack. Anything from that? Next page. No, page 9. I think there. Page 10. There's nothing, no actions there either. Page 11. No. And the final page 12. No. There's no actions to be taken forward either, so we can move on. Any declarations of interest? No, nothing, thank you. Right, so we've got the revenue monitoring report. So are we handing over to Angela or?
Yeah, I think that's one for me. I wasn't proposing to go through the report in detail. As you can see, there haven't been any changes from the forecast position from the previous meeting. We're still forecasting a deficit of around 19.5 million, which sits mainly with the high needs block. There may be a little bit of movement around the year end, but we're still working on that. So I don't know whether anybody has any questions on that.
Is our high needs block higher than anticipated?
There hasn't been a change in the forecast as at the end of February.
Okay.
So
Obviously,
Brian, it's sorry, Andrew, worth noting we are optimistic there may be a favourable variance as to the 19.5, but until we've closed out the accounts, got the actuals in, and to identify if there's an impact from the CEN2 return, which we had last year, we'd rather stick with the 19.5 and hopefully share some good news come the next schools forum.
That would be lovely, Al. Thank you.
Yes.
Ming.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, probably I already said what I wanted to say. There's some green shoot in terms of our joint effort. We forecast, so here said 19.5 million, less a high need block deficit. We may end the year with a better position, slightly better. This is the first time our joint effort. Did you remember 1 year ago we said that a lot of work we're doing will need to be embedding to see the impact. I think we start to see some green green light. I would like to say that I'll already give you the detail about that.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Anything else regarding that? No, okay, so
Yeah,
moving.
can I chip in with a question?
Yes, please, Phil.
Thank you. So just unpicking the potential hopeful improvement on the 19.5. Do we have any indication on what, when we're talking slightly more favourable position, are we talking like 19 mil? Are we talking like 10 mil? Do we have any kind of steer on how good this is we're talking about?
Yeah, certainly not the latter. Unfortunately, that would be great.
I was going for it. Yeah.
Yeah, there could be a movement of sort of £0.5 mil to £1 mil max, I would have thought. When we reforecasted earlier in the year, we were using current run rates, and we've seen over the last 6 months that new EHC plans has reduced. So yes, we're looking for a minor favourable variance, nothing sort of that's going to change the landscape considerably.
Okay, thank you. And then just to make sure I've got my head right, looking at the forecast summary, so we'd initially budgeted about 10.2, and then the reforecast has come in at 19.5. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So the 10.2, we were using the original safety valve budget projections, and earlier in the year we decided to reforecast in light of the current landscape.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Anyone else? No. Lovely, thank you. So we're on to early years block budget. Is that with Andrew and Al as well?
Yes, that sits with me. I will share my screen to run through the report.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I get the right screen. Okay, hopefully you can see the report. I mean, you have it in your agenda pack anyway, but I'll just talk through it. So we met with the Task and Finish group earlier in January, and discussed with them the setting the budget for 25-26, and we obviously had the paper, the draft, the sort of outline proposal at the last meeting. Once we had the figures and were able to do the modelling, we did that in conjunction with, as I say, in consultation with the Task and Finish group, and we have set the rates, which we communicated out to the providers because we had the deadline of the end of February. So that's all gone out, as have the indicative budgets for next year. In a summary, we had a budget of an allocation of about 30.5 million pounds. We've used the calculation to ensure that our pass-through rates hit the 96% as set out in the guidance, and the result of that is that we have the rates here, as you can see on screen. We've managed to increase the rates for the different age groups by various amounts. We've also increased our maintained nursery supplement. That's there to reflect the impact of the cost of having teachers in the nursery setting. We've maintained the quality supplement and the rate for supported disadvantaged 2-year-olds. As part of the budget, we can top slice 4% in order to support the statutory duties of the local authority, and again that's what we have done this year, and the amount requested is 1.1 million. That supports all the kind of back office functions in order to deliver the entitlements. There's detail of that further in the report. This just sets out a little bit of the background. I know it's not always great to look at a report whizzing past your eyes. So the early years allocation is set out in table 1. So that's how we receive it, and those are how it's split up by the DFE. As I say, we're required to pass through 96% by age group. So rather than just the total, we have to do it on a kind of line by line basis, so the under 2s, the 2s and the 3 to 4s. And we've hit those requirements. So this is how that then gets split out, which allows us to do things such as the quality supplement, inclusion, things like that. We've also got a reserve that allows us to fund activity in year that doesn't get captured on the census points, because early years can be quite a fluid arena. We've summarised the key things that we do with the top slice money there. And then we also, as part of the task and finish group discussions, we've sort of identified things we want to look at going forward for the next round of budget setting. It seems a bit mad looking to the next round, but you know, we sort of came up with some ideas that we want to look at in summer, and we'll go out to consultation with the providers on that, so that can inform our process next year. And I'm really hopeful that the DfE will be giving us information in a much more timely manner this year than they did last year. Everything, I don't know whether you recall, came out very late in the day, both for the schools block and the early years, which put a lot of pressure on these processes. But we're really hopeful that we can have more time to do consultation, carry out consultation, and feed that into the budget process. So if anybody has any questions on that.
Any questions? Ian Morgan, I was hoping you'd have a question. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Two things. I got one question, and then, Chair, I've got a mini statement that I just want to read out in terms of the early years environment and us moving forward. Angela, and I don't know if I've missed this, we've still got outstanding the early years support grant.
Oh, okay.
That came through in September, the additional monies that come through. I don't think I've seen anything coming through to providers on that one.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, it gets rolled into April onwards, but there were elements that came through from September to cover the last 2 terms.
Yeah, I'll check on that. As far as I'm aware, we've passed through all the grants that we've received. Obviously, we're coming up to year end, but I will check on that.
It may be that I've missed that. Maybe we can catch up outside of this. So, Chair, if you wouldn't mind if I just read a really short statement.
Yeah, to the point to read the statement, Ian, I can just put that as an action for next meeting for that to be confirmed whether that grant's gone through.
Yeah. Okay.
Meeting just so we can confirm that money has been passed through. Sorry, Ian.
Okay, so I represent the PBI providers and childminders in Wokingham, as I am a provider myself, and I have been on this forum for many years. But for the record, I also represent many providers across the country. At the last meeting, Schools Forum delegated the authority to agree the early years budget to the Task and Finish group. We carried out our duties and agreed the budget, as this was a fair settlement. Agreeing the budget allowed Wokingham to continue their financial planning and announce the 2025 funding rates to providers, giving them certainty of what they would receive and therefore plan for the year ahead. On February the 21st, the Department of Education released new statutory guidance, providing 5 weeks notice to implement or implementation. The guidance is prescriptive and divisive, and its attempts to control various aspects of PBIs and childminders' private businesses, and may potentially have overreaches in relation to the actual relevant legislation. The new guidance is likely to put the local authority in contention with providers, and providers in contention with parents. None of this is conducive to the Wokingham providers delivering the fabulous services that we do, as recently quoted in this forum by Ming. In fact, this new guidance may lead to some providers being in financial jeopardy. I have said both in this forum and outside that Wokingham is a great local authority to work with. They are incredibly fair and supportive of providers. Despite this new statutory guidance, I hope that this carries on. I still support the budget that we have set, and I do recommend it to Schools Forum. My wish is that Wokingham works with providers to get everybody through the next financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. That's a well-delivered message, and we'd all agree that we'd hope that Wokingham would continue working well with you as we move forward.
Yep. And Lucy, I'll send you a copy of that so you have that.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments regarding the early years block budget?
So can I just come back on Ian's first question about the early years support grant? I've just heard from the team that we're posting that this week because we're waiting for data from the data team to slice that up. I think I'm just getting a little bit more information, but yes, that will be coming out to you.
I get it, it's a complex thing, but thank you.
Thank you. Phil, are you yours? Ming, yes, thank you, Ming.
Thank you, Chair. Ian, thank you very much for sharing your thought in this forum. What you describe as a statement. I should like to say that as usual, we want to work in partnership with the year provider, with yourself. And the partnership has been strong, as you just said. We want to rely on partnership to mitigate any challenge, national challenge that may present it to us. There are a lot of happening internal education landscape, saying in other field. Many of them are national challenge. Partnership will mitigate some challenge we have, although I think internal nationwide challenge, of course, we want to take back to do whatever we can do to raise the question, to ask the question, or to channel any concern to the central government. Thank you for sharing your thoughts here.
Thank you, Ming.
Thank you, Ming. Right, so as a school forum, we need to approve the request of the 1.9. I'll just confirm 1.9 thousand, not million. Angela, is that right?
It's 1.1 million. The top slice.
Top slice, okay. Which is 4% of the total block budget, correct?
It is, yes, which is allowed under the guidance.
Right. I just need to go through and everyone's either for or against that. So maintain school first, Mark. If not Julia, if she's there.
Yep, fine.
Yeah, thank you. Nikki.
Yep.
Thank you. Julia.
Yes.
Thank you. Phil.
Yes.
Thank you. Nevis. Humphreys.
Yes.
Thank you. Raha.
Yes.
Thank you. Liz.
Approved.
Great, thank you. Darren.
Approved, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Shirley. I think there was a yes. Yeah, thanks, Shirley. Thank you. Jenny. Yeah, okay. Amanda.
Yes.
Thank you, Amanda. Deborah.
Yes.
Thank you. David or Linda.
Yes, approved.
Thank you. Ian.
Yes, it's a yes from me.
Thank you. Kiri.
Agreed. I completely share Ian's thoughts, though.
Thank you, Kiri. Thank you. I'm sure you do. Ian Thomas.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you. Catherine.
Yes.
Ming.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Steve. Yeah, and welcome, Claire. Claire Scallard.
Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. And I'm a yes as well. So that's unanimously gone through. All right, thank you. And nothing else there on early years that we need to, everything's okay there. Right, moving on to the next part, which is the high needs banding framework update. Is that with Al and Angela, or have we got Jonathan feeding into this?
Is it?
It's going to be a bit of a team effort.
Lovely.
So I'll lead. Who's got the? So there we go. Thank you, Chair. So there, we have submitted a report in advance of this, so that's got a bit more detail. But we thought it would be helpful to just produce some slides with some of the headlines around this work, and then the endorsement that we're after from Schools Forum, which will be at the end. And this will be a bit of a team effort. So I'll start, and then I'll be handing over to colleagues that have been involved. So can we go to the next one, please? Thank you. So just to remind, this has come to Schools Forum previously, and Schools Forum endorsed the approach that we've taken to date. So, but just as a reminder, so we've got a current system or an existing system of allocating top-up funding around EHC plans that lacks consistency and transparency, and uses a bit of an outdated methodology based on staff hours rather than needs. And that's in mainstream. We've been very clear from the outset, and this has been, certainly agreed within our partnership, that we want to address this problem by adopting a new funding system that's informed by the needs of children. It's fair, transparent, and equitable across our system, and it's as simple as possible to administer across all of our provisions. And you'll see on slide 6, when we get there, you'll see that sort of problem with the existing system versus the new system that we've adopted. And I think really it's those principles have been sort of the core part of this new way of working that we've adopted to date. Next one, please. So you'll see, so we had a high needs task and finish group, and we've been meeting since September. I won't go through all of the activity here. A lot of the detail is in the report that we've already submitted. But really to emphasise, I mean, this has been a really fantastic, certainly in my view, and I know a lot of colleagues that have that we've worked with and spoken to throughout this. It's been such a good example of really collaborative working. And we've been coming together since September across multiple forums. We've done focus groups, we've done a lot of sampling and moderation, which we'll come on to in a second. But just to really emphasise that I've seen this kind of work being sort of completed in other local area partnerships, and they haven't taken this kind of collaborative approach. So I think it's really, I'm hopeful that you'll see as we go through the slides today, that you'll see this kind of approach has really paid off. And the partnership involved has, we've got primary, secondary, unit and resource, right up to specialist provision represented. We've got the maintained sector, we've got multi-academy trusts, SENCOs, head teachers, a plethora of people involved from across all of the partnerships. So I think that's the headline really around this activity. Lots of work and thought has gone into this, and it's really been a truly sort of partnership effort. Next one, I think I'm going to hand over to Carey.
Yep. So across January, we completed a sampling exercise where we sampled over 200 children and young people's education, health and care plans using the education banding tool that we purchased. We developed a multi-agency task force, which included a range of school heads, SENCOs, multi-academy trust leaders, educational psychologists, LA SEND officers, and commissioners. And we used the Education, Health and Care Plan and most recent annual review or assessment documents to use that banding tool in real life for real children to sample and give us a data set by which to model impact And that was a really, really successful piece of work, and a massive thank you to all the schools who released staff to be part of the training for that, and then to go away and everybody had a sample of 10 to 20 EHCPs to go through. The key findings from that sampling and moderation exercise. There's more detail about this in the report, but just as a summary, that the quality of education, health and care plans and annual reviews and professional reports did play an influencing factor on the accuracy of the assessment, and picking this up has been built into the implementation plan. But despite that, over 81.5% were consistent when the cases were moderated. That means that when one person put the EHCP through the tool and then a second person did, in 81% of cases they matched the outcome. We from those ones that didn't match, we did a second moderator, and again 80% of those that were moderated for a second time matched. Where there was not a match, the moderation wasn't always down. It sometimes went up as well. So it went up as well as it went down in equal amount of cases. So from that, we can evidence that the system is robust in creating that consistency and transparency that we were striving for in the beginning in those very first set of principles that we set out. Over to Al.
Thanks, Kerry. Yeah, so one of the key processes in all of this was trying to identify what our banding values should be. So to assist with that, we've done some benchmarking. We've got some local data, which you can see there, a lot of numbers, apologies, as well as some findings that we've got from IMOSphere, which is the new framework that we'll be adopting. Broadly, bands 1 to 5 are the mainstream sector. 6 and 7 are resource bases, and special schools sort of go from 7 to 10. And on the whole, mainstream wise, we're about 10% higher than our local average and considerably higher than the IMOSphere average. Resource based and special schools, we tend to be around about 14% higher than the local average, and again, higher than the IMOSphere average. Touching on the points of how we got to our rates, obviously the benchmarking data was a big part of that. We want to be in line with our peers. We've also factored in that we don't want to be too expensive or more expensive on a like-for-like basis. And then we've also taken into account that WBC tends to be very poorly funded in the main, as well as the fact that these rates here are 24-25 rates. So we've included some inflation and price rises in the bands from other authorities to get to that value that you can see there. So overall, higher in every banding than our local and IMOSphere averages. Other thing to note is that in the mainstream, these rates are in addition to the notional 6K funding, and similarly in the resource-based and special schools on top of that 10K place funding. Thanks, Kerry. Next slide. So this is a comparison, and something that Jamie alluded to earlier, a comparison of our current profile mix, which is the blue lines, versus what we think the profile will look like in the new system based on our sample results. So overall, you can see it's far more evenly distributed, which is great. That's what we've been looking for, a more equitable system. It prevents those big spikes that we currently see in our framework, our hourly framework. So those first two big spikes are the 25 hours and 30 hours in the hourly. And overall, in the mainstream sector, we see a shift up the banding framework, where we see it's most commonly seen band 5, and that very much complements the national data set that we see from IMOSphere. Band 5 is the most commonly seen band, but conversely in the higher bands we see a movement across the framework. But overall it's reducing that volatility. It's more in line with the national data set, and that sort of bell curve effect, which is what you'd expect to see. Thanks, Kerry. Next one. So based on the sampling, and we had about a 19% sample rate from mainstream and special school EHCPs, we've then tried to model that sample through the whole of our current data set and see, you know, compared to our current cost base, which is that left-hand column financial values, what would that look like in the new IMOsphere framework, the new world, as it were? So you can broadly see in the mainstream bandings, the cost or the funding will increase by around about 5% versus where we are at the moment. And if you were to compare that to the local average benchmarking data, we'd be funding mainstream schools an extra. So good that we're able to, you know, increase the funding in that sector. And this is we're looking at this from a sort of system-wide approach. It's very difficult to do it on a school-by-school approach because of the variations that we had seen in the sampling and moderation. And then in band 6 to 10, you can see that more even distribution of the funding into the lower bands. So the next step really is ensuring that the actuals are following the sample results. We did have a good sample, like I said, of 19%, but we will very much be monitoring the progress whilst we go through the implementation phase to make sure that is aligning with our sample results. Thanks, Kerry. I think that's all the final. Yeah.
It is, yeah. I'm just going to bring Mark in here because he was a member of the Task and Finish group and is just going to help us to set out the implementation plan here.
Yeah, so the High Needs Task and Finish group, they sort of developed a detailed implementation plan, which you can sort of see on the slide here. So this is supported by local authorities, and it sort of details the journey or transition from the old funding mechanism to the new education banding tool. So it's not all going to happen in one sort of foul swoop. So the plan aims to sort of mitigate sort of risks of significant change to the school level of funding that you may have by maintaining existing rates until key transition points. So this provides sort of more ample notice, so your schools aren't suddenly going to have their funding changed overnight, so that schools can still continue to plan within sort of their financial budgets. So the implementation plan will run from April 2025 to March 2028. So there's like a transition of key groups, as you can see set out on this graphic, with around 500 EHCPs transferring in each phase.
That's great. And we've set out a slightly different approach for mainstream and special schools based on the impact that Al was describing in the previous slide. You know, we want to ensure that resource is getting out there to schools as quickly as possible. So the key takeaways, I guess, for the first year is around the new AHCP. So children that have had no prior top-up funding, they won't go onto an old system and then be transitioned over. From the 1st of April, any new EHCP that is finalised will be banded and the resource will come from the new system. So from the 1st of April 2025. For the Key Stage transfer cohorts who are, for example, in early years now or in year 6 now, when they transfer over to their new setting from September, their new funding will come with them, and all of those new providers will be told during April what that funding will be. So if you're a secondary school, your new year 7 intake of children with the HCPs, their new funding will start from September. And in the first year, the target cohorts that we're looking at for transferring from the old system to the new funding system, but who aren't changing schools, we will do that with the annual reviews that we receive from April 25 to March 26 for those key cohorts, but the funding won't change until April 26 if you're a maintained school, or September 26 if you're an academy. That's to be in line with the financial years run by those sectors. And in the meantime, the current rates will be held. So for the vast majority of children with an EHCP, no funding changes will happen until April 26 or September 26. It's really only those new EHCPs coming through the system. In phase 2, the same will apply. It will be business as usual for the new EHCPs and for those key stage transfers change in setting. But for the mainstream and special school target cohorts in that second year, we've got a slightly different approach. So for the mainstream, when that annual review is held between April 26 and March 27, the funding will take effect from the date the plan is finalised, subject to any changes that are identified in that annual review, and that's usually a 12-week process, and during that process you will get a notification of any change. For special schools, we're holding that existing rate for that key target cohort until the September of 2027, and then in the final year, in the phase 3, there will just be one target group of 76 children kind of left over from those mainstream settings, and again between those two dates, April 27 and March 28, when their annual review happens, that funding will take effect from the final plan. Mark?
Yeah, so in addition to the timeline for transferring EHCPs to the education bundle, there's some additional sort of system-wide components that we've had to work on as a part of the task and finish group. So the aim of this will be to sort of have an implementation board that will be tasked to oversee the implementation progress and impact, and this will be a continuation of the collaborative approach between schools, a local authority, commissioning, finance and SEND colleagues. So we've got like a lot of detail on there, which I think Kerry will sort of go into more.
Yeah, I'm not going to read all of them, and they are in the report, but just a key few bits for Schools Forum around how we're going to moderate this as we go. There's going to be a programme of internal moderation within Jamie's team that's going to be built into the process from day one. And then we're working up to having an annual peer moderation as well, that's going to be linked to other moderation mechanisms. The quality assurance is a really key piece as well. As I mentioned, our findings from the moderation exercise and the sampling, that quality of annual reviews and EHCPs is really crucial. So there's going to be additional guidance and training rolled out for SENCOs and for the SEND team, and we've also got a new audit tool that the SEND team are using for EHCPs at the moment, but that will be rolled out to annual reviews too. In terms of monitoring, review and evaluation, again, Al touched on it. We're going to be monitoring really closely how actuals map against what we've projected from the sample, and we will be having ongoing review of that through the implementation board, but also we'll report back to Schools Forum, to the Transformation Board, to CLT, so that we're really communicating how that's going and sort of critically analysing that as we go. We also get some ongoing support and analysis from Imosphere, so they will help us if we're sort of deviating from the national picture, or if something is coming up locally that we haven't foreseen, they'll help and support us with that. Again, training, there's a plan of training for using the system and ensuring that that equity and that's built in, and ongoing communication. So following today, we'll be doing briefings at secondary heads, primary heads, Wokingham Education Partnership, SENCO network throughout May and June, and doing some kind of either briefing sessions or webinars for people to access at their leisure, as well as comms, a wider communication strategy that will include parents through SEND Voices. So the immediate next steps will be to develop the implementation board, and again that will be made up of schools, finance, commissioning and send to oversee the rollout of this plan. Developing the arrangements for banding and recharging of other local authorities who have pupils in our specialist provision. We haven't covered that in our implementation plan yet, but that is going to be a focus of that first group, because that is a consideration, quite a significant consideration for our local schools, our local special schools, but our mainstream as well. And launching the implementation plan as detailed from April. So finally, just to round off, you know, we've worked in partnership with schools since September to co-produce and purchase a new banding tool, and developed an implementation plan to help mitigate any significant changes at school level by maintaining existing rates until those key transition points. And we're asking Schools Forum to note the co-production work of the Task and Finish group, to endorse the recommended implementation plan, and to endorse the recommended banding values for mainstream special and resource provision from the 1st of April.
Thank you.
I'll hand back over to you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just like to say a few things very quickly. Probably colleague in earlier presentation, including Mark, already alluded to such a strong collaboration in this particularly difficult project, I would say otherwise. School leader, aid school leader, and very expert from school, that include school leader, expert from Mount Academy Trust, from mainstream school, from primary school, from secondary school, from special school, and from mainstream school. As I said earlier, it's very, very important we have wide representative of the expert in that task finish group. Let's make co-production, collaboration possible. As you can see, the outcomes is really positive. The same project, same tool, you do not implement it in the right way, can get a totally different results. I think we get it right from the very beginning by having school leader expert join local authority expert. I would like to say that Carrie doing a lot of work out, Jamie's team, etc., doing sort of case audit, case testing. That's also very, very important to us. We just do not want to jump on anything other people said this is brilliant. We want to evidence that. That's why at the latest stage, we have 200 cases being tested, which is brilliant. Another thing, I think a positive thing for me is, as you can see that although we set out to have to achieve a fairer system and also easier to manage system, I don't know if it's a byproduct or not. This banding review just organically, it came out that our mainstream school will get uplift at around 5%, which is good news for us, particularly in the current national sort of landscape. That is a drive for inclusion in mainstream school. School need to be appropriately funded in order to drive inclusion in mainstream school. So I think that's another good news. I just would like to say thank everyone, particularly those 8 school leader and school expert and local authority expert who are in the task finish group to move this so far. And I hope School Forum will also support this project, endorse what we intend to implement. Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you, Ming. Has anyone got any questions for that team at all? No? Okay, so we're going to be waiting to endorse.
There are a few hands.
Sorry. No. Yes.
Hi. Could you just go back to the benchmarking data slide, the one with the proposed rates? Thank you. I just wondered whether it was possible to do what the current rates are, because I know we've got the local area, but we haven't got the current Wokingham rates next to it, because the slide after that, where it says the WBC sampling the financial models, it looks like the proposed to the current values are quite a high reduction in the high bands. If you go back to that slide, the WB sampling one. Just wanted to make sure I was understanding it correctly.
Yeah, if I could chip in there. So it's quite hard to overlay the hourly framework onto the Imosphere framework. What I would say is that almost as importantly as the banding values, it's the profile of the EHCPs in the new framework. So where you've seen a reduction in the higher bands between, say, 7 to 10, it's not just due to the bandings, because we've actually tried to keep the bandings in line with our current framework in that arena. It's more to do with how the EHCP's profile differs once they go through the new system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I just was worried that if you had a lot of children in your school in the higher bands, you'd actually be losing out. But like you said, it sounds like it's...
I think it's almost the opposite of that we found in mainstream schools, that at the moment we were mapping the children at a lower end in the existing, and then using the Imosphere, where those children have very complex needs, they were coming up in the higher bands than where we had them on the hourly model. But it is really hard to kind of say a like for like, because in the existing system there was like a ceiling, whereas with this system there's not a ceiling at the top of the mainstream funding. If you had a child whose needs were coming out of band 7 or 8, you would get the same funding for a band 7 or 8, whereas that isn't happening at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Nikki?
Sorry, Kerry. I think I've just got muddled in my thoughts. You were saying it was at key transitional points, but starting from this April, or because obviously we're an infant junior school, so this will impact the junior school next door. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the children with an EHCP who move from infants to juniors in September, the new funding will take effect. So during April, all those children who have been named for the juniors in September will go through the banding tool, and that new funding will be identified, but it won't come into place until September.
And so because obviously we're setting budgets now, if this has a reduction for them, they will have done their budgets accordingly, and then there might be less money than they are expecting from the EHCPs.
Yeah, there could be.
That's a very short period of time, you know, to readdress that staffing, if you need to do a consultation on redundancies, that sort of thing, that this could impact. Because when you're in a small school, every little penny you're counting, it's not big numbers for us to keep our budgets in control. So I just think that for the junior schools in the borough, you need to perhaps be having some form of communication for them, because this change is going to be coming much quicker than for other schools.
Yeah, and we will work with them. You know, I think also the numbers will be a lot, you know, significantly smaller, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you're saying they're smaller though, but for a school, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but remember, it could go in both directions.
Yes, it could, but it might not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. If anyone else? Lovely, thank you. Right, so we've got 2 votes here. One on endorsing the implementation plan to begin with. So if we just go through that list, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you. Nikki?
Yes, I think.
Yes, thank you. Julia?
Yes.
Thank you. Phil? Come back to Phil. Neres?
Yes.
Thank you. Raha?
Yes.
Thank you. Liz?
Yes.
Thank you. Darren? Come back to Darren. Shirley?
Yes.
Thank you. Jenny? Amanda? Deborah?
Yes.
Thank you. David or Linda?
Yes, but I also wanted to say that this is system-wide change, which is great, and I'm fully supportive of. But we also talked about how there would be individual cases where things might be slightly different, even though the general principles we completely agree with. I completely agree with.
Lovely, thank you. Ian Thomas?
Yes, Brian.
Thank you. Kerry?
I agree with Nikki. It'd be useful to see what the, to be able to compare the current figures. But yes, in agreement.
Brilliant, thank you. Ian Morgan?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Catherine?
Yes.
Thank you. Ming?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Steve? And Claire?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm a yes as well. And then we're looking at the banding values. So we just need to approve that. So again, Mark?
Yes.
Nikki?
I'm not sure, so can I abstain?
Yes, you can. Julia?
Yes.
Thank you. Phil? So I stepped out. Neres?
Yes.
Thank you. Raha?
Yes.
Thank you. Liz?
I think so. Can I abstain because I'd like to see it compared to our current EHCP values, and I couldn't see it. Sorry.
That's fine. Yep. Darren? Shirley?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Jenny? Amanda? Deborah?
Yes.
Thank you. Linda?
Yes.
Thank you. Ian Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. Kerry?
Yes.
Yes. Ian Morgan?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Ming?
Yes, Chair.
Catherine?
Yes.
Thank you. Steve's not there. And Claire?
Yes.
Thank you. And Louise as well. Okay, so they have both been endorsed, but I think it's we need to take on board what Sue means of a request for on some form of comparison of what current funding is to what the new funding will look like. So can we put that as an action for the next meeting, please? Right, School Forum Constitution. Rosanna, can I get you to lead on this? We met with myself, Deborah, Rosanna, and Ming met around this. There are some small changes, but Rosanna's done a lot of work behind the scenes on this one. So if I get you to lead on a wee bit of this, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So as Brian said, we've met with Ming and with Deborah, and we went through the previous constitution, which was well overdue an update. And the changes are just bringing it more in line with current legislation, our current way of working. and I think I just outlined the changes that are more evident. Hopefully it reads well. If Schools Forum approves it, it will be published in the website as the Constitution. I think it's self-explanatory. I'm not sure I have much more to add unless anybody has any questions. Brian, please, or Ming, if you want to add anything to it, or Deborah.
No,
Nothing more to add for me.
No, I think it was fairly straightforward, and thank you for all the work you did behind the scenes to help update it or bring it back in line. So thank you, Liz, for all that work.
I think instead of taking a vote, may I suggest if anybody is against it, maybe if they could say now or forever not say anything, because it's not contentious. So I don't think we need to go person by person.
No, I agree. No hands. It's a good sign. Thank you. So that will go through and we approve the new constitution. So that leaves the schools forward planning. So for our next meeting in July, we're looking at the revenue outturn, maintain school budgets, the revenue monitoring report, safety valve update, growth fund update, budget planning timetable, and consultation arrangements, which will need time spent on. Is there anything else that we need to be including into that meeting for this year?
Brian, I just would like to add that we had a conversation about maybe having the next meeting in person at the council offices, because we haven't met for a very, very long time, and we mentioned that maybe it would be good to have an in-person meeting once a year, and perhaps the July one is the one that we could aim to have an in-person. We can still facilitate a hybrid setting where if it's absolutely impossible for people to attend in person, they can join online. But I don't know how colleagues feel about that.
I'm very happy to go for a hybrid setup for this. I think there are some big items here, especially around the consultation arrangements and with the safety valve update. So it'd be good to have people there to actually sort of discuss that a bit more fully rather than just online where people tend to go a bit quieter. So if we do look at a hybrid meeting for July, it'd be great to see as many people as possible actually at the council building, so we can actually go through a lot of these points coming up.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no other items that have come through that I believe. Any other business? No. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone that contributed, and thank you for all the work for the people who prepared reports. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Linda, I could grab you for 1 minute.
Thanks, everybody.